Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Luke and here on this channel I talk about fragrances. So today we're going to go through my entire perfume collection. I want to show you everything that I own at the moment. I didn't count, but there's probably around 70 to 80 fragrances. I wanted to do a declutter before filming this collection video because I had some fragrances that just had to go, and I decluttered about 15 scents in early June, and now I have about 70 left. I keep most of them in my bedroom, but I also keep some of them at my parents' house because I decided to take a break from them. I don't know exactly how many scents will end up being in this video, but I might have to split it into two videos. I also wanted to make it very clear that I'm a perfume lover, not a true collector. I don't have a museum at home, so I only keep what I at least intend to use. I'm not one to buy 20 new scents, declutter them, buy new stuff, declutter it again, like so many other people do. I rarely do declutters because I purchase with the intent to keep. And I'm also not one to force myself to use up my fragrances. I don't do that anymore. When I buy something and I love it, I want to keep it, obviously. If I happen to use it up, I'll just repurchase it. But I'm not someone who oversprays my fragrances and uses them as room sprays just to use them up. I don't do that, and that's why I rarely have empties. So now that I've explained why my collection is the way it is and how I view perfume collecting, let's get into it. Let's go through my fragrance wardrobe, repertoire, collection, whatever you want to call it. And keep in mind that these fragrances are in no particular order. So let's start with the classic from Chanel. This is Chanel Allure, the EDP from 1999. This is an amber floral vanilla scent. It's got some citrus in the opening, a juicy peach note, some powderiness, and a lot of vanilla in the base. But this is not really a vanilla fragrance in my opinion, even though some people consider it a vanilla. It's a 90s floral. Beautiful. Moving on, we've got Casimir from Chopard or Cashmere. There's someone who always corrects my pronunciation in the comments, while their comment is full of typos. But that's beside the point. Chopard Casimir is a beautiful 90s style vanilla fragrance. It's got a note of peach, it's balsamic, it's spicy. It smells a bit like a peach cobbler, and I really enjoy it. It's a beautiful peachy vanilla from the 90s. Moving on, we've got Patchouli from Reminiscence. This was released back in the 70s, and this is a true hippie patchouli fragrance. It's very strong, very pungent, but once that strong opening goes away, it's got that beautiful ambery vanilla base that is sweet and almost gourmand. This is a stunning patchouli fragrance for a true patchouli lover. You have to really love patchouli to like this one because it's very strong and polarizing, but I absolutely adore it. The next one is Amarige from Givenchy, and this is another opulent 90s white floral fragrance. It's white floral, yellow floral, slightly woody, fresh, soapy, slightly creamy in the opening, just a bit of vanilla in the base. It's your typical 90s floral powerhouse. You have to like tuberose, you have to like mimosa. Very strong, very in your face. Not for everyone, but I absolutely adore it. Moving on, we've got Dior J'adore L'Eau, the new version, the 2023, created by Francis Codijan. This is a beautiful soapy, floral, fresh jasmine fragrance. It smells nothing like the original J'adore, so I'm not the biggest fan of it. I picked up a partial bottle just because it was a very good deal. I might declutter this one. Moving on, we've got another 90s floral. This is Organza from Givenchy, and Organza just has a bit more vanilla than Amarige. It has a bit of spiciness. It's very opulent, very voluptuous. I simply adore it. Again, very in your face, very white floral. You have to like white florals and vintage smelling fragrances to appreciate this one, but it's an absolute masterpiece. I adore it. We're staying in the 90s with Tocad from Rocha 1994, another classic 90s style floriental vanilla fragrance. Yes, it's sweet, it's very vanillic in the base. I get a lot of rose in the opening, but this is not a proper modern vanilla scent. It definitely has a vintage vibe. Tocad means a whim, a fad. It's a fun fragrance, living life on a whim, enjoying every moment, being unpredictable. That's what Tocad is about. And I really love it. I can't wait for this bottle to macerate a little, because I'm not going to lie, in the opening, I do get a bit of sharpness, but it goes away in a few minutes. So that's Tocad from Rochas. And we're still in the 90s. We've got Diamonds and Emeralds from Elizabeth Taylor. This is a white floral, fruity fragrance. It's predominantly a tuberose gardenia and a sweet, jammy peach note. I really like the peach in this. I like the florals. It's sweet. It's beautiful. It has a vintage vibe, but it still smells modern to my nose. You can pick up the 100ml for about 10 to 15 euros, dollars, pounds, and it's very expensive smelling. Moving on, we've got Gucci Rush from 1999, and this is a classic fruity floral chypre. It's got a peach note, some gardenia, freesia, patchouli, vanilla. It's a 90s style fruit julie scent. It's very strong, bold, edgy, polarizing. It comes in this very unique cassette-shaped bottle, and it also has a plasticky vibe to it, which I absolutely adore. Moving on, we've got Vanilla from Alyssa Ashley, released in 1990. This is a pure vanilla fragrance. It's soft, cozy, sweet. It almost smells like vanilla custard, but it's not too gourmand, I would say, in my opinion. So it is a sweet vanilla scent, a bit cakey, but still 90s style. Definitely not a modern gourmand, not overly foodie, but it's delicious, comforting, and addictive. I absolutely love it. Very affordable. Next up, we've got another favourite of mine, Ivresse from Yves Saint Laurent. This was released in 1993, created by Sophia Groisman. And this is a fruity floral chypre scent that smells like a glass of champagne. It's sparkling, it's voluptuous, joyful, and a happy scent for me. It has rose, violet, peach, some spiciness, some oak moss in the base, amber. It's very elegant and sophisticated. I absolutely love Ivresse, and you should really check it out if you're looking for an elegant, fruity fragrance with a vintage vibe. Ivresse will be for you. It's still available. This is a vintage bottle though. Vintage bottles can be quite expensive, but if you can find the newer version, it's still good. It's still good, but not as amazing as the vintage, obviously. Here I have another vanilla fragrance. This is Lalique Le Parfum from 2005. This is a comforting, sweet, creamy, powdery vanilla scent with a twist because it has a bay leaf note in the opening, which makes it slightly aromatic, but it's not too strong. This is still a vanilla fragrance. It's not particularly gourmand, I would say, but it's very cozy, elegant, and versatile, and I've been wearing it ever since I got it. I'll probably need another bottle very soon. Next up, we've got another vanilla from the 90s. This one is a classic and a personal favourite of mine. This is in my top 5 fragrances for life. Yes, it's Hypnotic Poison, Poison Hypnotique de Dior. I absolutely adore Hypnotic Poison. It's an almond vanilla scent, but it's more complex than that. To me, it almost smells like amaretto mixed with caramel, salted caramel, but not in a gourmand way. It still smells like a 90s fragrance, so it's not a modern foodie gourmand, even though it is a gourmand. I hope I'm making sense. But it's the kind of gourmand that I enjoy. I don't like sticky sweet, syrupy sweet, modern smelling gourmands that smell like food. Hypnotic Poison is not that. It's a classic almond vanilla scent. It's been around since 1998, and it's a classic for a good reason. I recently repurchased it, and the newer version, to my nose, is still just as fine. Obviously, it's not as good as the vintage, but I will repurchase it again when I ran out because I absolutely love it. So that's Hypnotic Poison from Dior. Next up, we've got Lolita Land from Lolita Lompica. This was released in 2018, and this is a very sweet, syrupy sweet, fruity vanilla fragrance with some citruses in the top notes. This is very much a gourmand. It has a Bellini note, peach, and a very sweet, creamy vanilla. I'd say it's 50% vanilla, 40% fruits, 10% licorice and benzoin. It's a very sweet scent. Next up, we've got Rare Pearls from Avon. Rare Pearls is basically a dupe for Pure Poison. Again, like most Avon fragrances, it's a bit rough around the edges. It's not the most sophisticated scent, but if you smell it from afar, it does smell a lot like Pure Poison. I'm not saying it's a dupe, it's just a great cheapie you can pick up. The next fragrance is actually my grandma's signature scent, Tosca, from a German company called Maurer & Wirtz. And this is very much an old-fashioned, classic, aldehydic floral. It does smell a bit like Chanel No. 5, but it also reminds me of other classic florals. It's sweet, floral, aldehydic, powdery, very pleasant, very comforting for me. And this bottle is actually an aerosol. It's a continuous spray, it's not a natural spray. The next fragrance is Chanel Coco from 1984. This is the Eau de Toilette, and Coco is an amber, spicy, oriental, very elegant, very opulent. I absolutely adore it. I prefer the Eau de Toilette over the Eau de Parfum, but both are absolutely incredible. This is also in my top 5 for life, and I also have a backup. I've been wearing it for years and I never want to be without it. The next one is a flanker of Coco. This is Coco Mademoiselle Intense, not the original from 2001, but the Intense from 2018, which to me smells very similar to the original, but it's stronger, it's muskier, the patchouli is stronger. It's just a better version of the original. It's also sweeter, richer. I absolutely adore it. Coco Mademoiselle Intense from Chanel. Next up, we've got the original Poison from Dior. This is from 1985. It's one of my favorite fragrances. In my top 10 for life, I would say. This is a tuberose fragrance with plum and incense. It's gothic, it's mysterious. It's one of the most groundbreaking and influential fragrances of the 20th century. I still adore it. My mum wore it when I was a kid. This is a vintage bottle from the early 90s. Then we've got another Dior. This is Miss Dior Perfume 2024, created by Francis Kurkdjian. I absolutely adore the Miss Dior line. I had Cherie, I had the 2017, the 2011. So I really love my Miss Dior's. I've used them all up, so the only one I have is the newest Miss Dior Parfum, which is a strawberry patchouli fragrance, and it's lovely. Next up, we've got Tuscany Per Donna by Estée Lauder, released in 1992. This is a floral oriental, very 90s style. It's a woody floral, it's heavy on the sandalwood, but it also has a lot of florals, some vanilla. It's soft, it's sensual, very warm, rich, bright. It reminds me of Guerlain Samsara and Chanel Allure. This is a vintage bottle from the 90s, sadly discontinued. Next up, we've got another gem from the 90s. This is Dior Dune, and this was released in 1991. This is a one-of-a-kind fragrance, very unique, because it's a fresh oriental, it's a fresh ambery fragrance. It opens fresh and aldehydic, but it's warm, ambery, balsamic, resinous, even vanillic. You know, this fragrance is such a paradox, it's impossible to describe. I have a full review on my channel. The next fragrance is another classic Oriental. This is Estee Lauder Cinnabar. This was released in the late 70s as Youth Dew Soft, as a soft version of the classic, the eponymous Youth Dew from the 1950s. Cinnabar is a bit lighter, it has a bit more peach, but it's still an ambery, spicy Oriental, clearly influenced by Opium, which was released in 1977. But it's still a great fragrance, very unique. And just so you know, this is the current formulation, not the vintage. And then we have another Estee Lauder. This is Spellbound, also a current formulation. This is more of a tuberose spicy fragrance, not an amber spicy, but it's very strong, very opulent, very potent. It was created by the one and only Sophia Groisman. And this is a typical Groisman fragrance because it's fruity, it's powdery, very floral, but also very powdery and vanillic, also slightly animalic. It's an absolute powerhouse from the 90s. I really love the new version. Then we have another Estee Lauder. This is Knowing from Estee Lauder. This is from the 80s, and it's a classic chypre. It reminds me of other classic chypres, but some of the notes and accords that stand out to me are woody notes, oak moss, the rose. I can really smell the aldehydes in the opening, some other nondescript florals, and then definitely the woody notes and the oak moss in the base, which make this a classic chypre. It's very elegant, sophisticated, also extremely strong. You only need about 4 sprays of this one. But it also has a bit of that aldehydic, soapy freshness to it. It's not a heavy chypre, it's not a heavy Oriental like Cabochard, for example. Moving on, we've got Isatis from Givenchy. This is the Eau de Toilette, and it is a vintage bottle. I want to say from the late 80s or early 90s. I'm not entirely sure because it doesn't have a batch code. But this is a very potent 80s style fragrance. Very floral, very opulent, in your face. Sweet but also animalic. Floral but also aldehydic. It contains every single note and accord under the sun, but it's predominantly a white and yellow floral with a chypre base. I absolutely adore it. Again, not for everyone because it's polarizing, it's powerful, but if you like fragrances like White Diamonds from Elizabeth Taylor and Poison from Dior, check this one out. The next one is Dolce Vita from Dior. This is also a vintage bottle from the 90s, and I absolutely adore it. Dolce Vita is a woody, fruity, spicy, sweet fragrance. It's just delectable. I love it. It's not a gourmand, but it has a strong vanilla note, a strong woodiness, some cinnamon, peach in the opening. It's stunning. It smells like Christmas in a bottle. I absolutely adore it. Moving on, we've got the classic Youth Dew from Estee Lauder. This was released in the 50s as a bath oil. The fragrance came out later, but I absolutely love it. This is a classic, spicy, ambery Oriental. Very heady, very strong. But for some reason, I find it very powdery, soft, and comforting. But it's still a very opulent, vintage Oriental. But I really love wearing this all year round, and I even wear it to bed, just one spray, because it has that cosmetic-y, powdery scent to it, and it just makes me feel clean. Even though it's a spicy Oriental, I know that doesn't make any sense, but if you own Youth Dew, let me know if you also find it comforting. Next up, we've got another favourite of mine. This is Dior J'adore l'Eau, the 2017 version, but this also applies to the 2010 version, which smells the same as this one to my nose. This is one of the most luxurious, expensive smelling florals that I've ever tried. In my top 5 for life, I have a backup. This is a warm, white and yellow floral vanilla fragrance. The ingredients are amazing, the quality is amazing, the presentation is beautiful, and it just smells like $1 million. I absolutely adore it, and I feel like I need another backup of this beauty. The next fragrance is also from Dior, and this is Dior Homme Intense. This is the intense version of the classic Dior Homme, and it's an iris fragrance. Yes, it's a sweet, powdery, lipsticky iris fragrance that leans masculine, if that makes any sense. To me, this smells masculine, but it's also very strong on the iris. So if you love iris, this one is a must try. I absolutely love it. So that's Dior Homme Intense from Dior.